this or that. And it did work for me, but the thing that brought me is that I needed more money. I mean, that wasn't enough, so I needed to go into something more substantial. And therefore, I went into encyclopedia. I started selling encyclopedia when I was 14 years old. And a lot of people bought them. I think sympathy. I think they said, oh, that poor little kid, let me try to help him. So even if they have an encyclopedia, they bought another one, just to help this little poor kid. I wore the jacket that my mother gave me. I wore a tie. I looked neat. I looked clean. I didn't look like a shabby, like a boy of 14 would look today, So, and anyway, and then I immigrated to Libya, where I started selling encyclopedia during summer, and that was, to me, the beginning of a big time, because nobody was selling encyclopedias in Libya. And I don't want to go again through details, because plenty of details, very important ones, will be there. But I managed to go through it, and then I started selling insurance, because I said, probably insurance, there is more money. And then I started working for my university into advertising and into exhibitions, because my school, American University of Beirut, when I finished my high school, and I was, to be honest, up to that level, my father was helping me a little bit, but I was putting a lot of the money. And Ed Sullivan, who just died about 4 years ago, he was my friend forever, because he was like my father. He actually adopted me. And I remember what he said to me. He said, outside school, I am Ed. In school, I'm Mr. Sullivan, and don't ever forget that. And neither was I going to of course, forget that. I mean, his kindness was too much. I helped in his house. He had an apartment outside the high school. But in high school, after my mother died, I was crazy of, I had an inferiority complex that, if you like, developed a superiority complex. I wanted to prove myself that I was equal to all the rich boys that were in my school. So I always tried to dress nicely. I always tried to say the right things. Nobody knew that I was doing what I was doing, whether selling cosmetics or encyclopedia or whatsoever. And then, time passed, and I did 2 exhibitions at university. One is for the engineering school, and again, you should read my book to read the details, and I'm almost advertising for my book, which is not finished yet. And the second one was an exhibition for small business communities.
I'd like to just share some old images. I have some beautiful photographs here of you, Akram. Can you see them? Why don't you?
Yeah.
And this was Akram's early life. He's always enjoyed life. He's been a gymnast. That's an amazing picture there. And you love dancing. Do you still dance? I mean,
you can stand, anybody who doesn't dance is not living, I think. I still, of course, dance.
Fair enough. Yeah, some more images. Where was that?
That one on top?
Yeah.
That was at IC. I was the head usher of IC, and I became famous because I made the ushering committee into a business. I went to the school and I took a budget, and I said, we need to be doing more work for the community, and that work to be done, I need money, and I took some budget, and I actually employed a lot of guys, as you can see.
And this was where?
Scouts.
Okay.
And that was a military service, which was in Lebanon at the time, 1 month only. And actually, I got a way of waking up in the morning by singing. It was a bad song. I never got any compliments, but at least I got away from waking up early. Yeah, this is here at the ushering committee. All the students, we were actually responsible. We are like the prefects in English, and we are responsible for the discipline of the students. I even made a secret police usher to investigate people who are cheating or doing illegal stuff or whatever, including drugs, by the way.
And that is, when you were talking about education and learning, we have in our audience the famous Tony Buzan. I'd like to acknowledge him. He is a great inspiration and mentor, and has been helping education and literacy across the world. And he's, Tony, I'd like to
acknowledge
you. Thank you very much. And it was a nice anchor because education is very close to Tony's heart, and it seemed to your mother's heart and to yours, and that's how you lifted yourself from
Absolutely.
there. At that stage, taking a leaf out of Tony's book, did you like daydreaming?
Did I like?
Daydreaming. Did you daydream?
And how much? I mean, I enjoyed it very much. Many times I could see myself go into a corner somewhere where I'm all by myself, and I start planning, if you like. You can call it daydreaming. It's more like planning. You know, especially when my mother died, I went to a forest. Immediately when she died, she was in front of me, and our nanny wanted me to see her face, and I didn't want to see her face. But anyway, I went to a forest, and I was kicking rocks, and I was talking to myself, and I was saying, where am I going? Where am I going? Who's going to help? What's going to happen to me? All of these important questions. But it triggered in me that I needed this, if you like, escape from everybody, where you could sit down and dream. And usually she was present in my dreams. Usually she almost guided me, like as if, anyway, I'm a Gemini, so therefore I can, you know, I'm two, at best two. Usually I'm about 1,001. But I mean, we talk to each other and we do some planning and we do some tricks.
So when you were dreaming, did you dream of today? Did you dream of greatness?
You know,
did you dream of success?
No, not really, not
What
really. I must tell you, I've never believed in 5 years plans or 10 years plans. I believe that when I had a family, my dream was to have $25,000. Just because in case any one of them falls sick, I needed to make sure that I can spend that money. And of course, I had a banker friend of mine in British Bank of the Middle East. His name was David Livesey, who came to me one day and he said, he called me up actually, he was a client. And he said to me, you know, I need to come and see you. I said, no, you don't come and see me, you're the client. I'll come and see you. You want me to come now? I said, no, I am inviting you to lunch tomorrow, and it will be one-to-one, and I need to talk to you. I did not sleep that night. I thought he was going to fire me. I thought because it's, you know, usually when people want to see you for lunch, it means it's the last lunch. Especially with clients. And he came in, he was very friendly, and he didn't look like somebody who's going to fire you, you know. So he said, you know, I've got very good news for you, and I want to ask you a question. I said, what? He said, if you have a lot of money, would you be a slave to your money, or would you make your money your slave? I said, first of all, I don't have lots of money. He said, no, you do. I had a saving account, and I was hoping to put in it the $25,000, which I forgot. So I was putting, every time I had a bit of money on the spare, I was putting money in it. I mean, after 5 years, it became $1 million. So he said, you are a millionaire. I said, me? Please, it's nothing to do with me. I've got nothing to do with it. He said, no, you. I said, oh, if you say so, I mean, thank you very much. And he said, no, don't thank me. It's your money. But my question to you is very important, because from now on, and knowing your personality, knowing your character, you'll be making a lot of money. I said, well, you know, I don't need more than that. I said, you know, $1 million is good enough. He said, but will you stop working? I said, no, because I love working, and I want to continue to, as you said, go in a seclusion and dream and then actualize my dream. He said, well, the question why I asked you is very simple, because we have two types of people who bank with us. One type who uses money as his slave, and he lives well. And one type who is a slave to his money, and he doesn't live well. So, wow. Stopped me, I went back, and I loved it. I loved the statement. I loved the fact that I have money. Of course, I didn't sleep for 4 or 5 days. I even thought, shall I retire? I know, $1 million, what the hell? I mean, in 82 or something. But then I woke up and said, I have an idea. I want to do it. And life goes on from there.
Wonderful story. There are lots of people in this audience who are entrepreneurs, who started their business from nothing, who've bet their farms and their homes and their families. Could you just give us some of the insights when you started? You left home with almost nothing in your bank and in your pocket. What was going on inside you at that time? What was driving you? What was that special source?
First, I'd like to go back to university because we have a professor of education with us here. When we graduated, our president of the university that year said, we have 2,000 graduates this year. I don't know how many engineers, I don't know how many doctors, I don't know how many political science students, economic students, business administration students, but I know one thing. We have 2,000 leaders. This university has made 2,000 men and women, of course, because meaning to speak, unfortunately, we say men to also include women, so please excuse us for that. This is important because it also, another word that stuck in my mind, and I said to myself, this is the problem today that we're facing. We're having all these political issues because we do not have education. If you study and you know how to read and write, it doesn't mean that we're educated. But to come back to your story, I think, hunger is at the base of everything. I left Lebanon in 75. I already had a business that I started there, as you rightly said, with 7 friends. The business didn't do well, so my friends left the business and I was on my own. And I took the company on and I said, I'll pay the debts and I'll pay the partners. The other alternative would have been to go bankrupt, but I said, no, my name. Looking back at things, I should have gone bankrupt because it took me 3 years to pay back. But to tell you, we went to the bank and we wanted to get some money to get out of Lebanon because Lebanon was getting to a place where I couldn't be in it. Many of my friends stayed and made a lot of money in it. But I couldn't kill people. I couldn't be part of a society that will hate one against another because of religion, color, or whatever it is. So I decided that I wanted to get out, and I got out right in 75. Went first to Jordan with $500 that they gave me from the bank, and he said, we can't give you more because everybody wants to take money and go out, and we don't have that money. Central bank is closed. The country was basically closed. Went to Jordan. I had family there. Stayed with them. Jordan was not possible for me, for my sort of thinking and business, and it wasn't a service industry country, if you like. It was more an industrial country type. And then I decided to take my family to Turkey because my wife was Turkish, and I left the family there and I came to Dubai. That was 75. Dubai had a friend of mine who took me in his house for a couple of weeks, and then little by little I made little deals of printing. There is a printer here who knows me well. Anyway, and I took the printing job to Lebanon, and I was able to make about $5,000, which at that time was quite good enough for me to start doing something with it. Brought the printing back. And he used to be at the Intercontinental, which is SAS right now. He used to have a small little bookstore. And he told me that he was selling a lot of this book, which is basically basic guidance to the Gulf, and basically Dubai and the small Gulf. To cut the story again short, because I wanted to read my book, I started a business here, advertising business. But guess what? I mean, how can you do a business when there is no media? The only magazine that was here was a magazine called Gulf Mirror, which used to come. Any one of you who lived through that time would know. It was called Gulf Mirror, which is from Bahrain. And And it was used to come once a week. And to advertise on that would have been very expensive for any local products. And my hope was to sell local products, to advertise for local products. In the hotel, there was a mimeograph machine which had a Reuters bulletin, which was published daily to give you news, because the television wasn't really well developed. We didn't have satellite. We had a small TV station at the very beginning of it. It was at its infancy. And I said, but we need a medium. How can you, what advertising I'm going to be doing in this place if I don't have a media? How can I advertise anything? We decided to go to Reuters, and we said to them, how about if we print mimeographs of the Reuters bulletin, and we put ads in between. I don't know, you don't remember? No, you wouldn't know, because it was before your times, much before your times. But I still have, I think, one issue with me. And so we advertised, we went to clients, and we took from them advertisements, which we printed in color, and we actually stapled them to the bulletin, and we distributed them all around the intercontinental in that area. That was all that there is there in Dubai, a street and a couple of the hotels there. And that was the beginning of my beginning here.
So it's about imagination, or is it about courage? We've seen, yes, you can. So you obviously have the confidence. But what was that special sauce? Because I think a lot of people here find it extremely difficult to take that first step. A lot of people here are very well qualified, and they're here because they have jobs. Jobs versus entrepreneurship. And we're talking about you were innately an entrepreneur. What did you bring to life?
Good question.